What's up, guys? Welcome back to Inside Out Precision. Today we are reviewing the Phase 4 33. This is the new bow from Mathews. Now I know I'm a little bit late to the game on this. We had a little bit of a snafu getting the bows here. Apparently they were held up in a UPS facility here. I don't know how they didn't make it on the truck, but we got them, I don't know, I think 3 days after everybody else. And then the one lefty that we got was actually spoken for already. I wanted to really get a left-handed one before I did the review because I shot the V3X33 last year, and these bows are very, very similar. So I wanted to really be able to get a feel for the new one versus the old one. And shooting it right-handed, I wouldn't be able to really do that. Before we get into all that, if you head on over to InsideOutPrecision.com, there's all sorts of merch on there. We got hats, hoodies, t-shirts, mugs, candles, stickers, all sorts of good stuff. The holidays are coming up, and you know, look good, feel good, shoot good. So, shameless plug out of the way. Let's get into the new Phase 4 33 from Mathews. So, as I mentioned, I shot the V3X 33 last year. One of my favorite bows since the Traverse. I was curious. So Mathews, you know, a couple weeks before everybody got the bows, they told all the dealers that they had some revolutionary new technology coming out, and that, you know, the industry was going to kind of be scratching their head on how they did it. When I heard that, I thought that they'd come up with a new cam system. I thought that they had cracked the code on how to make, you know, a 32 to 34 inch bow with a 6 or 7 inch brace height shoot like 360 feet a second without, you know, pulling like a mule and just not being pleasurable to shoot, because to me that would be revolutionary. They didn't quite deliver what I was hoping for, but they do have some cool new features of this. So if you follow Mathews and you're a bow junkie, you've probably seen what they've done here. But basically, it has all the same specs as last year's bow. So it's 33 axle to axle, 6.5 inch brace height, 4.67 pounds. It'll go from 27 to 31.5 inches. You can get it in 60, 65, 70, or 75 pound peak weight in the modules. And it is literally the exact same riser, same cam system, all that. Now the biggest thing that people are talking about is, you can see this little black strip here. They've actually widened the limbs. And this is actually technically 8 limbs, and they actually bolt together over this piece of rubber. Now when I first saw this, I was like, that seems like a failure point to me. Like at some point that's gonna fail. But I talked to our rep, well, the owner talked to the rep a bunch. He said they did extensive testing on that, and there has been no like degradation of the rubber over shots. We'll get into that more in a minute here. The other thing they did was the integrated stabilizer system. So you can see here, you have your normal mounting holes, just like on the V3X33, but you also have the ability to run, they make an 8, 10, and a 12 inch bar. You can slide this in and out to your desired length. And then tighten this little knob down here, and it's integrated. Does it stabilize the bow any better? No. The idea with it is that you eliminate those aluminum couplings that, you know, where the bolt goes into like their old stabilizer. This isn't a Mathews stabilizer, but pretty much every other stabilizer on the market is going to have a carbon bar and this aluminum little coupler at the end here with the bolt. Their idea is that with less connections means less noise and vibrations. Now, I shot this bow a bunch the last couple days, like side by side next to the V3X 33. It is noticeably quieter. I'm not gonna say it's like half as quiet or anything like that, but it is quieter as advertised. And there is just the slightest little bit less residual vibration. You still feel the bow go off. You're never gonna be able to build a bow, well, at least not yet, to where you just don't feel it go off. But some guys would say that, you know, there's just a little bit of like a, you know, little bit of residual vibration after the shot. They seem to have done a pretty good job of eliminating that. Now, with that, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, I can just buy a $25 set of, you know, limb savers and put them in my bow, or put them between the limbs on my V3X and achieve the same thing. I have tried limb savers on my V3X, and I honestly didn't really notice any difference, so I took them off. This actually seems to make a difference. On the stabilizer mounting, so I actually have the 29 here that's got their like full kit on it, so I'll show you that. So here's the 29. This has the front and back bar on it. The back bar has kind of the same deal. It's got a little quick release right here. You can slide it a little ways in, depending on the angle that you run the bar at. But if you run it too far out, you won't have much room to slide it in before it hits the riser. And obviously you don't want it up against the riser. But again, you can run any of their bars with it. And then this new, I think probably the coolest piece of this whole stabilizer kit is this new bracket here. It just has one screw on top that when you loosen it, you can move it up, down, left, and right. So you're not having to loosen both screws. The downside to this, and I think they might kind of shoot themselves in the foot with this, is the price point. So the bars start at $250 a piece, and then the bracket is $200. So you're $700, you're half the price of the bow just to run their stabilizer system. Now I understand there's a lot of machining in this. These stabilizers are aluminum. Somebody's got to, you know, they got to program and run that CNC machine. I'm just being honest here, it's hard for me to wrap my head around $700 worth of machining on these bars. Now, if you're the guy, you know, it's sleek, it looks really cool. Obviously, you've probably seen it, but the weights now clip in, which is cool. Show you here. So instead of a traditional stabilizer where you gotta, you know, unscrew the all thread and then screw it back out, add your weights. With this, you loosen that little set screw, pops right off, and then these weights you can add and subtract really, really super quickly and easily. I do not know the price point of the extra weights. All of these come with two weights, and then I'm sure that end piece is like an ounce or an ounce and a half. So you're probably gonna have somewhere between, you know, 3 and 4 ounces on the end of that. But it does seem like a pretty cool system. You know, just one of those kind of sleek little things that they did. So like I said, I like the idea of the stabilizer system. The price point is, I think, personally gonna kill them. It's, you know, even just $250 for one bar. I mean, their bar last year was $160, which is about double the price of any other carbon bar on the market. And now they're bumping that up even more. So while I love the bow, I'm not sure how many people are gonna actually use this integrated stabilizer system. I think where you get the more dampening and vibration qualities is in this rubber in the limbs. Now, like I said, we talked to Mathews. They said they did extensive testing on this. They know that a lot of the guys that buy their products, like Mathews is huge back east. They're hunting in, you know, 0-degree temperatures a lot of the time. So I'm sure they tested it. From what our customers have expressed in terms of like concerns is going from like hot to cold temperatures. So like out here in the West, you know, especially like September, late September, if you're up 7,000, 8,000 feet, the mornings can be like 10 degrees, and then by, you know, 2 o'clock, it's 75 degrees. So the question is, will this rubber expand and contract? Mathews has assured us it will not. Knowing the properties of rubber, it would seem that it would. So the question for what I would like to do with this sometime is like put this in a, I don't know, like a walk-in freezer and leave it there for 5 hours. Like tune it before I put it in there, pull it out, and then shoot it through paper and see if it still shoots the same hole. I will say it is pretty slick how they've done this. The other thing people were worried about is if they had to replace the limbs, were they gonna send the rubber separate from the two sides of the limb? They assured us they will not. It will come fully assembled. So if you crack a limb or you're putting different color limbs on or something like that, you will not have to worry about assembling all 8 limbs together before putting them in the limb pockets. Now, like I said, I shot the V3X33 last year, shooting these bows side by side. In terms of like the way the bow aims and feels and shoots, the draw cycle is identical. It aims identical, and that's because the riser and everything else is identical. You know, I never really noticed with my back bar and front bar on my V3X33, I didn't really have any vibration. I'm shooting those Conquest bars from Conquest Archery, and they've got that smack teen stuff that they put in them. And they just totally deaden the bow. But shooting our demo V3X33 side by side with this bow, I did notice some differences. Like I said, the noise I think is more noticeable than the vibration to me. Trent, who works here, he thought it was the opposite for him. He could feel more noticeable in the vibration than the noise. But this thing is quiet. I mean, when we're out here and guys are shooting, it sounds like they're shooting a little Genesis bow. So, like I said, they didn't revolutionize anything in the way that I thought they were going to, but they still built a great bow as usual. And to that point, if you look around the industry this year, nobody really did anything new. Like Hoyt made their bow an inch longer, you know, PSE put in spacers, you know, Prime came out with the same riser with a different cam. There's just, I think the industry as a whole has kind of reached the pinnacle in terms of the technology available to us as to how fast and accurately we can throw an arrow while still making the bow comfortable to shoot. I'm sure somebody out there in the next few years is gonna figure something out to where, like I said, you can make a bow with these same specs, shoot 360 plus. They could do it if they wanted to, it would just be a miserable bow to shoot. So I think it kind of speaks to the industry as a whole right now of like, just kind of where we are in terms of what we can do with the technology available to us. But I'm gonna quit yakking at you about all that. I know that's a little more opinion based than you're probably usually used to on this channel, but it's just my take. So we got the chronograph set up over here. We got arrows ranging from like 370 grains up to 550 grains today. I have heard from people that this bow is a little bit slower than the V3X33, and when I say a little bit, I'm talking like 2 or 3 feet a second. Now, that could be a chronograph calibration error. That could be, you know, 10 extra grains on an arrow. Who knows? 2 or 3 feet a second is, in my mind, the same speed. Like, you're never going to notice that. So anyway, I'm curious to see what it'll do. I have an arrow that's basically the same weight as the ones I shoot now. I shoot, for deer season, I shot a 446 grain arrow. I've got one that's like 440. And mine were going like 292. With a 30-inch draw length, so I'm curious to see if this is close to that. Yeah, we'll see what she can do. I'm excited. All right, so we got the chrono set up here. I just want to touch on a couple things. So I don't want to like sound like I'm bad-mouthing this bow because it is still an incredible shooting bow. It's totally up to you whether if you shoot a V3X33 right now and you know you feel like it has a little more vibration than you want. Then this might be a worthy upgrade. I think where this bow is really gonna shine is for people that have a bow that's, you know, 2, 3, 4 years old. There's definitely a noticeable difference between like this and the V3 and the VXR and the Verdicts and so on down the line. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to badmouth this bow at all. Like the V3X33 was such a successful platform that they just kind of like added to that. And it is an incredible shooting bow. So I'm curious to see what it does for speeds here. I have a pretty good feeling just after shooting my bow for so long, but I'm curious. So we're gonna start with the heavy guy. This is a 548 grain, so let's call it 550 arrow. 30 inches, 70.2 pounds. Wow. 275. That's actually way faster than I thought it'd be. This next one is a 490 grain arrow. That's crazy. That's really good speed. .283, about the jump I'd expect. So this is the arrow that's really close to mine. So mine was shooting 292. This is 6 grains heavier than mine, or 4 grains heavier than mine. So this is right at 450. So I'm expecting it to be pretty much right there. Try not to hit those other 2 arrows. .291, mine shot 292. So, I mean, yeah, 6 grains, 1 foot a second. I'm gonna call that even. So I'm not really seeing any difference in speeds here. This is a 400 grain arrow, little speed demon. Make sure. Short. .304. And then this one is, I believe, 370, 368. So same deal. $322. The bow IBOs says up to 336. You know, with 75-pound mods, you could probably get that sort of speed out of it. But that's, I mean, that's fast. Like that, it's literally pretty much right on par with my V3X33. All the specs are the same, so it should be. It's hard to tell on camera. It's so hard to tell on camera. And then this range is really echoey. But this bow is super, super quiet. I mean, it is very, very quiet. You know, out west here, I don't think it's as big a deal as when you're back east in those hardwoods and it's just real, real quiet. And those deer are so turned on. You know, out here a lot of times our animals are preoccupied with something and noise isn't as big of a deal, but obviously, you know, the quieter you can get that bow, the better. It's just gonna alert them less and make them, you know, think for that split second like, huh, did I just hear something? And then poof, arrow smokes them. So I'm gonna go put the 28-inch mods on this and we're gonna shoot those exact same 5 arrows. All right, so just threw the 28-inch mods on here, still 70.2 pounds. We're gonna be shooting the exact same arrows. So 548 rather, to begin. Make sure I'm getting it right through the middle of this. Oh, shorty. Hit that back wall and just 251. This is the 490 grain arrow. .268. It's a pretty good jump there. Actually a bigger jump than with the heavier arrows, or than with the longer mods. This is the 450 grain arrow. .278. 400 grain arrow. So that 450 grain arrow with like a 28-inch draw length, like that would be a really common weight that I would set people up with for, like, you know, deer, elk, whatever. Might be a little bit on the lighter side for elk, but for around here, you know, a 28-inch draw length, that's a pretty good weight. So, you know, 278, call it 280. Lots of people think that's kind of the sweet spot, especially for fixed blade heads. So that's kind of what you want out of a bow like this. 400 grains. 293. And now Speed Demon 368. 303. So all good speeds. Like I said, I mean, I don't think I shot the exact same weight arrows. I kind of want to go back and look at the speeds out of the review last year. But as far as I can tell, no difference in speed. Mine, you know, the arrow I shoot is 6 grains lighter than the one, or 4 grains lighter than the one I shot, and is 1 foot a second faster. So basically on par with everything. Like I said, I'm really impressed with this bow. It is really, really, really quiet, and it is really smooth. I wish they could have made that stabilizer system a little more affordable. I think they'd see a lot of guys jumping over to that. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are gonna shoot it, but man, you know, that's a tough pill to swallow. But other than that, I mean, it's still an incredible bow. I mean, it's, you know, it's everything you'd expect out of Mathews, and they just added some cool little new features. So highly encourage you to get down to your local Mathews dealer and try one of these out if you haven't already. I'm gonna be doing the 29 review next. I think we got a lefty in either today or yesterday. So I'm curious to shoot that a little bit. And yeah, give you guys the speeds on that. I'm gonna guess it's just like it says in the specs, I'll shoot those same 5 arrows. I'm gonna guess they're gonna be, you know, 5 to 6 feet a second faster as the specs would suggest. So anyway, thanks for watching today, guys. If you haven't already, remember to head on over to Inside Out Precision, check out the merch, and as always, remember precision is the decision. Keep them in the middle. I'll see you on the range.